Hey everybody, welcome back to Ink Play Quest. My name is Nathan, and today we are reviewing all of the cards from Azurite Sea that are Amethyst for Cube. Just as a reminder, I review cards in tiers. A are cards that are clearly powerful in the top 10% of their color, so I'm looking for like 3 to 5 cards here. B, they might get there. I'm happy to try these out in Cube. C are marginal or replaceable cards that, not super excited about, but maybe will replace some of the bottom performers in my Cube with these. D are cards that are too weak or too narrow, so either understated or very specific niche archetypes that don't really fit well in a flexible Cube environment. And vanilla cards are characters, or in this case locations, that have either no effects or one keyword effect. These are, cards that I'm hoping to eventually phase out of my Cube, so I'm not going to look at these super closely, but we're going to start with the vanillas. In Amethyst, there are 8. Of these, the only one that stands out a little bit is the 3-cost Tinkerbell Fast Flyer. She's a 1/3 evasive. Quests for 2, just a functional reprint of the Minnie Mouse Surfer card from Ruby. I think that's a fine card to include. I'll probably replace like the lowest performing 3-cost character in my Cube with this. Other than that, mostly kind of boring stuff. I don't know why they're printing more 1-cost, 1/4 locations, but it's alright. Love the art on all of these, of course. Let's start off with Diablo Obedient Raven. It is a 1-cost inkable character, 0/1 quests for 1. When this character is banished, you may draw a card. So this is very much like the 2-cost Cusco. I think this is quite a good card for a 1-cost character, and it shifts into one of the best cards in the game. So I'm gonna give this a B. Kind of weird to give a 0/1 1-cost character a B, but I think Amethyst likes to draw cards. This character replaces itself. It shifts into one of the best cards in the game. I think it's totally fine. Has great synergies if you can buff it up with Merlin Crab or other ways to give it more strength and make it a challenging threat that replaces itself. Totally fine card. Probably gonna throw it in my Cube. Give it a B. Mad Hatter Eccentric Host, 1-cost 1/1 that quests for 1. Whenever this character quests, you may look at the top card of chosen player's deck, put it on top of their deck or into their discard. There's a cycle of these cards that put stuff from deck into discard. In other trading card games, we call that milling. I think this is a D though in Cube. It's so fragile. The effect is very marginal if you don't have a good way of stacking these milling effects. I think it is just too ambitious at this time for a Cube archetype to be mill focused, but I love this. I love this card idea. It's probably going to be a really feels bad card for constructed, but for Cube, it's a D. Just like the last card, this is going to be a D as well. A very merry unbirthday 1-cost song. Each opponent puts the top 2 cards of their deck into their discard. I can't think of a way to break this at the moment, and just putting the top 2 of your opponent's deck into their discard without having multiple copies of this or efficient ways to replay it. I could see this and then other mill synergies if you have 4 of each of them can be kind of annoying in constructed, but for Cube, I think this is just a D. Madam Mim Tiny Adversary. She is a 2-cost 0/3 that quests for 1. She has Challenger +1 and gives your other characters Challenger +1. So this compares to the 2-cost Lumiere that just gives all of your characters a static +1 strength. I think this is worse. Challenger only goes off when you're challenging, obviously, not when you're defending against the challenge, but I think it is cool to have multiple of these effects in Cube. Makes combat a little bit awkward. Low downside, it's a 2-cost inkable character. Madam Mims are there's not really a great shift Madam Mim, but I think this is a fine character. Going 1-cost 2/2 into this, or 1-cost Diablo into this, I think is, a fine play pattern. So we're going to give Madam M Tiny Adversary a B here. Juju Mama Odie's Companion, 2-cost 1/2 that quests for 1. When you play this character, move 1 damage counter from chosen character to chosen opposing character. So I had high hopes for this moving damage counters archetype. There are a ton of cards, basically none of which see play in constructed. But I think so far it hasn't really panned out in cubes, so I'm going to give this one a C. You know, the upside case is like you play the Mulan that comes in with damage, or you, if you're on the draw, you like challenge in with your 1 cost, play this, move damage off of your 1 cost character onto their other character. I'm just not sure this is going to go off that often, but, you know, 2 cost inkable character, low floor, or low ceiling, but relatively middling floor. I think this is a C. Now, this is a character I think is pretty cool. 2 cost, inkable, 1/1, quest for 1. This is the Carpenter, dinner companion, I think from Alice in Wonderland. I'll get you. When this character is banished, you may exert chosen character. So, the effect is less strong than Pinocchio, because you have to, this goes off when it's banished, but it's inkable, and there are, you know, some interesting play patterns with this. You could crash this into a character, trade off with it, and then exert another character for a favorable trade. You can banish this with your other self-banishing card, like Teeth and Ambitions. You could play this, sing with the Carpenter, Teeth and Ambitions, banish itself, banish one of their characters, exert another character, challenge in. I think it's a flexible enough effect that I'm going to give it a B. Any like 2 cost inkable character that has a relatively meaningful effect, I think is worth considering for cubes as we phase out the weaker low drop characters. Remember, cube you want to have, or basically any Lorcana deck, you want to have a high concentration of cheap plays to make at every stage of the game. So I think this is kind of a cool card. Excited to try him out and give him a B. Another interesting exert effect, Lose the Way. It's a 2 cost action, inkable. Exert chosen character, then you may choose and discard a card. If you do, the exerted character can't ready at the start of their next turn. So this is a strict up. It's a strictly better version of, I think it might be called Freeze from set 1. I think it's an uninkable 2 cost action that exerts chosen character. I think it's interesting they've already sort of power crept some of their own cards, but whatever. So you have the basic case of just exerting a character for 2, and then, you know, you can trade it off. You should think of this as like a removal spell, usually, or a removal action. Usually, you're gonna exert a character that you have a favorable challenge against. But the upside case is you can, you know, discard an unneeded card or a card that you can get back, and use it defensively, right? So you can. If you have a fragile character that quests for a lot, you can quest with your character, exert your opponent's challenge threat, and then make them not ready at the start of their next turn. Buys you some time. I think it's a pretty cool card. I'm going to give it a B. Maleficent's Staff, 2 cost inkable item that just has a passive effect. Whenever one of your opponent's characters, items, or locations is returned to their hand from play, gain 1 lore. This is a really interesting action. So Lorcana, we don't have sideboards, right? So but your deck is your deck, whether you're playing constructed or a limited environment. This, in another trading card game, would be like a slam dunk sideboard card against any Amethyst bounce package, right? It just sort of hoses that, or it makes it so much more costly to just be bouncing stuff with snakes and foxes. I think that is pretty narrow, but I think it's a strong enough effect that can be used either defensively against some of the best characters in the game, which are the Madam Mim bouncers, or offensively if you have a way to bounce your opponent's stuff with like Kit, Mother Knows Best, Genie, other ways to return your opponent's characters. Like, think about this and then some of the mass bounce effects that we have in the game. I think there's like the 7-drop Milo, and then there's the new Jasmine card. But this is usually not going to do anything, and it's a 2 cost inkable item. At least you don't have to exert it to use it, and you can ink it. I think it's like right on the edge of unplayable, but I'm going to keep my eye on it just in case. I'm going to give it a C. Mad Hatter's Teapot, 2 cost inkable item, tap, pay 1 ink. Each opponent puts the top card of their deck into their discard. Now, like, contrast the last card with this. This is a very narrow effect also that only will help if you're trying to mill your opponent out. but you have to tap it, you have to exert it, and you have to pay an ink each time you want to use it. So for that reason, I'm going to give this a D. It doesn't have the passive upside of the last card, and the effect I think is a little weaker. So yeah, this is a clear D to me, Mad Hatter's Teapot. Mystical Tree, 2-cost inkable location. The move cost is 1, willpower of 7. At the start of your turn, you may move 1 damage counter from chosen character here to chosen opposing character. At the start of your turn, if you have a character named Mama Odie here, gain 1 lore. I think this is also a D. I think any location that requires you to have a specific character named there to gain lore is pretty terrible. So this is either like a 1-cost to deal 1 damage later location, or very specific location to gain lore with Mama Odie. And this is only, it doesn't stack with the number of Mama Odies you have there. It's just 1 lore if you have it, none if you don't. I think it's way too narrow. Yeah, this is a D. Now this character I'm very excited about. The White Rose Jewel of the Garden, 3-cost inkable, 3 quests for 1. When you play this character, gain 1 lore. There are a few new ways of gaining lore out of nowhere in this set. This is one of them, and this is my first A of Amethyst. I think this is not that different from Merlin Goat, given the 1-cost cheaper to play. You obviously don't get the lore when it leaves play. That's a huge downside compared to Goat, but it costs 1 whole ink less. And the nice thing about this is you can have both, right? You can have a Goat, you can have a White Rose. Basically, the number of additional cards that just give you a lore when they happen in this set makes I think you feel a lot less comfortable when you're in a prime position to win. So if you if you have Goat in your deck and the only card that would beat you is Goat, now another card that can beat you is the White Rose. So I think this is slam dunk. Put this card in cube. This is an A for me. Madam Mim, truly marvelous, 3-cost uninkable 2/3 that quests for 1. Oh, Bat Gizzards is her ability. Pay 2 ink, choose and discard a card, gain 1 lore. Now this card's kind of nuts. Everything about this card is like understated and bad, but the ability has such a crazy high upside, and we're going to see that a couple times throughout Azurite Sea. This is the first time where we're having like a lot of abilities that just pay ink and you can use them multiple times. And I think this one is kind of crazy. I'm going to give her a B, and I think I could be wrong about this one, but I think the upside of being able to just dump your hand and dump your ink well, or tap out your ink well, dump your hand, and gain a bunch of lore is kind of crazy. You could like play her on turn 9 and gain 3 lore right away. You can play her Whole New World and then dump your hand and gain, up to 7 if you have 14 ink in your inkwell. These are obviously like stratospheric expectations on this card, but the fact that you can just gain a bunch of lore all at once with this card, either the turn she comes down or without even having to quest. Also, you can quest and then do her ability. I think is hugely strong. It might not work out, but I think starting with a B with this card is where I want to be. So Madam Mim gets a B. Making Magic, 3-cost action. It's inkable. Move 1 damage counter from chosen character to chosen opposing character and draw a card. This is a 3-cost inkable cantrip. It just replaces itself by drawing a card. You get a minor upside. I think this probably could have been 2-cost inkable, and it wouldn't have been super broken. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but like contrast this with the new Sapphire action that costs 2 and is inkable and is just broken. So I think this is a C. There are other Amethyst songs and actions that I want to be playing in my deck. I think it's fine. Certainly if you're playing the cube with like more commons, all commons, or more commons than uncommons, check it out, but I don't think it quite gets there for me. It's a C for me. Iago, Reappearing Parrot, 4-cost inkable 4/2, quest for 1. Its ability is like Hey Hey, so when it's banished in a challenge, return this card to your hand. I think a cool upside with this, though, is it has pretty high strength, so Hey Hey isn't used as much offensively, at least, 2-1 stat line is not going to take out very much, but 4/2, I mean, you can just slam into your opponent's stuff, get Iago back to hand, replay Iago, and you just always have this present threat. I think this card's pretty cool. I'm going to give it a B to start out with. I'm excited to try this card out to see if you can either pair this with like Rush synergies or give it even more strength with the Madame we saw earlier, or with Lumiere. I think any card that just gives you this sort of passive card advantage or recursion is worth looking at in Cube, and this card is probably going to be a huge menace in Booster Draft. It's a common 4/2 that just keeps coming back. Yeah, this is going to be a pain. All right, here's another great one. Genie Wish Fulfilled. 4-cost, uninkable, 2/4 that quests for 2 with evasive. When you play this character, draw a card. So, again, it's sort of like a slightly worse Merlin Rabbit. Insofar as you're not going to ever get like a 3-for-1 with this card, probably. But this is just kind of crazy. A 4-cost character that quests for 2, it's evasive with 4 willpower, so it lives through Smash, it lives through Storm Rage On, it probably lives through Strength of a Raging Fire, and when you play a draw card, this character's great. I'm excited for this, definitely getting an A for me. Also, there's an amazing genie later on in the set that is a shift, so I am very much looking forward to including this in my cube. Basically, any character that is going to draw you a card I'm already looking at, and the stats and evasiveness on this character just put it over the edge for me. Very happy with Genie Wish Fulfilled. Sisu Uniting Dragon. So this is a 4-cost uninkable 3/3 that quests for 2. Whenever this character quests, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a dragon character card, put it in your hand and repeat this effect. Otherwise, put it on either the top or bottom of your deck. So this card is insane, but right now it's a D. So there are not enough dragons for this to really go crazy. This is, this is one more ink and uninkable than a vanilla 3-cost 3/3 that quests for 2. But we're not that far off. I just looked at the card pool right now. We're not that far off from Inconstructed, this literally drawing your entire deck. We're maybe like 5 to 10 dragons off from you being able to play a entirely 60 card deck full of dragons, and this literally being able to draw your entire deck for just questing. I think that probably could get banned at some point. Because that just seems kind of ridiculous. But right now, there's not enough dragons, certainly in a Singleton Cube environment, for this to ever go off in a meaningful way. Right? Because this is just like compared to the Genie, right? Genie is evasive. It still quests for 2. It has more willpower, and it always draws a card, where this has to wait to draw a card. Now, this is a D for right now, but an insanely strong upside that I'm going to keep an eye out for. Alright, Yzma Conniving Chemist, a 4-cost inkable 3/3 that quests for 2. Hey, look, this is just so much better than the last card. Feel the power. Exert her if you have fewer than 3 cards in your hand, to draw until you have 3 cards in your hand. This is definitely an A. If you put this in the right deck, it's almost always going to draw you 3 cards. So you want this in an aggressive deck that is able to empty your hand very quickly. Like, imagine you play this on turn 4 when you've played 4 characters before her. So like 2 1-drops, a 2-drop, and a 3-drop. Or wait, 1, 2, 1, 2. So 2 1s and 2 2s before she comes down on turn 4. You're either at 1 card in hand or empty-handed, I'm not sure. But if this draws you 2, you feel great. If this draws you 3 one time and then your opponent answers her, you feel great. If your opponent has to auto kill Yzma to stop you from drawing, you feel pretty good. 3 willpower stops it from being Storm Raged On. It dies to Medusa, but like it's 2 turns ahead of Medusa, so I think this card is insane. Definitely putting this in my cube. It's inkable. It's a sorcerer. It's a villain. I mean, everything you want. Great art also. This is an A. Peter Pan Shadowcatcher, 4-cost uninkable 1/3 that quests for 1. During your turn, whenever a card is put into your inkwell, exert chosen opposing character. So this is one of the 2 inkwell cards from Amethyst in this cycle. So you can think about this as a 5-cost character that exerts on the same turn it comes down, right? Because you play it on 4, ink for your turn, exert a character. Yeah, I mean, these effects are powerful, right? Because you can, every turn you can do this. You can do it twice if you have Fishbone, or another way of inking twice per turn. The stats are really bad. But I think that I'm bullish on most of these repeatable inking effects. So I'm going to give Peter Pan a B. I think it's probably in the lower end of B right now, but it's uninkable. But excited to try this one in my cube. I'm excited to see. I'm really glad that Ravensburger has included a lot of repeatable effects in this set, because I think that's something that Lorcana was missing for the first 5 sets, and I'm excited to see how these play out at sort of the top levels of Constructed, and certainly in Cube. So I'm going to give this a B for Cube. Pixie Dust, 4-cost uninkable item. Exert it and pay 2 ink. Chosen character gets Challenger +2 and Evasive until the start of your next turn. Man. Some people that I've been talking to about Cube and Limited think this card is very strong in normal Limited. I think it's just worse than like Maui's Fishhook, though. Well, you get both effects, but it's 4-cost uninkable, and it's 6 ink overall to use it on the same turn it comes down, and you don't get a free buyout like if you have Maui with Fishhook. I think it's a C. I think it's probably on the upside of C, but if you want to like get this the turn it comes down, you're paying 6 ink. And 6 is like one of the, I think 5 and 6 are like the 2 peaks of power level in Lorcana right now. Like there are so many strong 5-cost characters, and obviously there are some insane 6-cost characters, Medusa, Tinkerbell, whatever. And if I'm spending my turn 6 doing this, I don't know that that is like a super winning position. Obviously, if you have it on turn 4, and then like from turns 5 and on, you're using this every turn to get incremental advantage, it's fine. But I think it's a little bit not enough juice for the squeeze, so I'm gonna keep it at C for now. Willing to be wrong. I like these kinds of cards, but Pixie Dust is a C for me. Maba Odi, Solitary Sage, 5-cost uninkable 4/5, quest for 1. Whenever you play a song, you may move up to 2 damage counters from chosen character to chosen opposing character. Needs a song, understated, uninkable, not a shift target. I think this looks like a D to me. I guess you could play, well, how does it work with Teeth and Ambitions? Can you move the 2 that you deal to? I don't know. I still think this is a D. This is not exactly what I want to be doing. There are not a huge concentration of songs in a limited environment. I think if you support like a songs deck, maybe this is an interesting payoff, but I'm not super excited about Mama Odi, Solitary Sage. There's some like really powerful Mama Odi effects, but I just think they are not quite getting there. I don't know. We'll see. I think this is a D though. Seeking the Half Crown, 5-cost uninkable action. Draw 2, but you may pay 1 ink less for each sorcerer character you have in play. So my mind immediately went to D for this card, but I went into the Lorcana app and looked at how many sorcerers there are in the game, and there's like 200 different sorcerers. It's not a card type that I've been keeping up with at all, because I don't think there are other payoffs. Maybe I'm wrong, but there's none that are relevant in my eyes. You are only happy if this costs 2 to play. I mean, I guess in desperation, if you have 1 and you're paying 4 to draw 2, that's a desperation card draw. Card draw is always good in Limited. I think we're going to give it a C. It's just the dream of like having 5 sorcerers in play and drawing 2 for free is basically not going to happen. But, you know, if you're paying 3 or less, I guess this is fine. But this is on the very low end of C. I guess if we have more sorcerer payoffs, maybe. But, like, that's not a character type that I'm drafting around. So, just on the playable side of D, we're going to go C. Hades, Lord of the Dead. 6-cost uninkable, 3/4 quest for 3. During an opponent's turn, whenever one of your other characters is banished, gain 2 lore. This card is insane. Doesn't require it to be exerted. It's uninkable, can't shift, but this is just like a 6-cost win the game card, I think. And so I'm going to give it an A. So, hear me out. If you have 3 other characters in play, and they all quest for 2, say, not that unreasonable, and you play this on turn 6, you quest out with everything, you have Yeah, so you have like basically questing for 9 next turn, and your opponent has to either have a way to kill Hades, which sure Medusa and Tremaine, or Medusa can kill it, but if you have a full board, Tremaine can't kill it. But if they start challenging into your other characters, you gain lore. I think in the right deck, this card is just crazy. Maybe this is on the lower end of A for me, but like the defensive, if they do something, you gain lore ability was good on Blue in like early aggressive decks that played Amber. I think that this being able to go off multiple times for your other small characters getting banished is just crazy. It dies to a good amount of stuff at this ink cost, right? It dies to Medusa, it dies to Zeus, Dragonfire, but this is a crazy strong effect. I think it is an A until I'm proven otherwise. Scar Tempestuous Lion is a 6-cost uninkable 4/4 that quests for 2. It has Rush, and it has Challenger +3. So it comes down, challenges in for 7, and then it can quest for 2 the next turn. It's uninkable, so it's 1 cost cheaper than the 7-cost Scar that is like one of the best cards in the game. This compares favorably to Maui in that it can quest, and it hits for 1 more point of damage, but like the 5 cost, but it's 1 cost more expensive. I mean, this is a very strong card on power level. I think it's a B, but like on the lower end of B. I'm definitely going to try him out because, first of all, the art is unreal. Man, the art in this set is just crazy good. Shout out to Peter Brockhammer, the artist on this card. This is just an expensive card, but like, I mean, you hits a Queen's Castle, and then it lives around with 4 willpower. This not just being a 7/4 and having Challenger +3 might be worse. We'll see. It lives through Medusa. It doesn't die to Medusa. That's nice. Yeah, low end of B for me. Tinkerbell, Queen of the Azurite Fairies. Another 5 keyword character here. Floodborn Ally, Queen, Fairy, Captain. A lot of those are kind of relevant. Queen and Captain are kind of relevant. 7 cost, 5/6 quest for 2 with Evasive and Shift 5. Whatever this character quests, your other fairy characters get +1 lore pip this turn. I also checked for this character. There are not very many fairies. I think there are like under 10 fairies in Lorcana, maybe 8. And it only goes off when it quests. It is a big evasive body, but like at 7 ink, you want this probably to quest for 3. I think it's a C. Evasives are great. I mean, this is kind of a bomb and just like normal limited, but it doesn't die to many of the common removal pieces. Doesn't die to Zeus. Doesn't die to Medusa. I think C, though, is right here. Just a big character. Inkable's nice. Genie, Wonderful Trickster. 7 cost, 4/7 quest for 2. Floodborn, so it has Shift 5. Whenever you play a card, draw a card. At the end of your turn, put all cards in your hand at the bottom of your deck in any order. This card is crazy. I mean, there are so many cards in Lorcana that are like, oh man, if we get a couple more ways of breaking this card, it's just infinite combo land. I feel like this is one of those cards, and this ability is so powerful. I'm giving this an A. It's obviously like a little understated, right? 7/4/7 the quest for 2 with no other protection abilities, no evasive or anything. Understated. And I think it's been clarified that this does not proc itself. So you don't get to draw a card when it enters play. But if you can empty your hand, have this be the last card in your hand, and then whenever you draw a card, you just play it, draw, play it, draw, play it, draw. So if you have like a pretty cheap deck with like a low curve and you play this as your top end, and then you're just like, you get to dump your hand or chain characters for the next couple turns. I think this is a pretty sweet card. I'm going to give it an A. I think like the Hades card, this is just a tad lower than the first 3 A's that I gave out because it's so expensive and, you know, kind of requires a little bit of build around, but I think this is an awesome card. And I'm willing to be proven wrong. Maybe this is just like the absolute stone cold, but we'll see. And I think this is our last character, Rafiki Ethereal Guide. 9 cost, uninkable, 6/6 quest for 4, shift 7. Just a huge chonker, huge monkey. Shift 7. During your turn, whenever a card is put into your inkwell, you may draw a card. Now, this is probably the most powerful, repeatable inkwell ability we have in Azurite Sea. But man, this guy's huge. 7 for the shift cost. And there are there are a few Rafikis, right? There's the 1 cost, there's the rush one, there's a couple of rush Rafikis, but oh man. 6/6 quest for 4. I think this is not quite there because of how expensive it is, but whenever a card is put into your inkwell, draw a card. That is a crazy, crazy strong ability. Probably best when you can ink multiple per turn, but you're already up at 7 or 9 ink at this point. Yeah, I think this is maybe just too much of a cost for this strong effect. And it's kind of a win more card, honestly. If you're dropping this guy and you can't ready your stuff and quest out for lethal, I think you should be able to win if you're playing this card, and you may not need the extra card draw. So let's give it a C. But again, insane art. Good on Sam Nielsen here. All right, so that is Amethyst in Azurite Sea. Some really, really exciting, unique card mechanics in this color of ink. A lot of vanillas, but man, I am excited about all of the A cards here. I'm gonna add all of them into my cube, and a good number of the Bs too. I think there's enough flexibility with the effects and the repeatable effects, especially, that I'm excited to try the Amethyst cards. Yeah, let me know how you think I did rating these cards. Let me know if you think I got any super wrong, or if you think I nailed it. And I hope this helps you prepare for updating your cube for Azurite Sea, which comes out in just a few days at the time of recording. Hope you enjoyed, and I will talk to you next time with Emerald. Bye.